In the previous part, Ueki has a fierce battle with Robert and is saved by Kobayashi. Because of that, Ueki, curious why Kobayashi risks himself to help him, goes to Kobayashi's house. He then finds something that makes him want to be a champion at the battle. The scene switches to Ueki meeting a man named Yo-chan, who claims to be a new candidate for Ueki. But strangely, he doesn't want to be involved in a fight and doesn't want Ueki to fight either. He tries to discourage Ueki by saying that the current participants have 160 talents, while Ueki only has 11. Besides, Ueki's talents were useless to help him become a champion. At the same time, Ueki again lost 3 of his talents because he attacked 3 thugs who were disturbing a woman. Mori asked why he really wanted to make Ueki resign. Yo-chan replied that Robert Hayden had become the strongest fighter who would win the empty talent. She was shocked after he told her about that because it meant Robert was still alive. Hearing that, Ueki was even more excited to beat him. It turns out that Yo-chan is the messenger of a man named Margaret, who is a candidate for Robert Hayden. He wants Ueki out of the fight. He has prepared Robert with 10 loyal fighters who will always help him. On the other hand, Ueki continued to fight and managed to defeat several opponents. Even one of his male opponents, Oniyama, finally became friends with him. Oniyama wants to train him to defeat one of the 10 of Robert's fighters named Kurokage, who is dubbed a Black Shadow and will be Ueki's next opponent. Not long after, BJ returned to visit Ueki. He warns Ueki that soon, Kurokage will come and become his opponent. Even he offers to stay at Ueki's house so he can help him. When Ueki, Mori, and BJ were looking for Kurokage's whereabouts, they suddenly saw a fallen little boy looking for his older brother. They then gave the child a drink. Not long after, a giant shadow appeared, which turned out to be Kurokage's shadow. Ueki tried to attack the shadow controller as Oniyama had taught him. When Ueki was about to hit him, it turned out that the figure was just a trick because he could make 1,000 shadows. Unknowingly, the black shadow was about to step on Ueki's body. But swiftly, he wrapped the shadow into pieces. Since the figure was only a shadow, his body managed to rejoin. After being hit by the giant black shadow, Ueki fell unconscious. BJ, who saw it, took his body to a safer place, and fortunately, Ueki woke up. Soon after, the little boy said that Kurokage was his big brother. Sadly, his personality had changed. In the past, Kurokage participated in the basketball championship to win the national level. They managed to win until just before the national level competition. However, the opposing team didn't accept it, so they beat up the Kurokage team, causing a fight. Unfortunately, the Kurokage team was even disqualified, and worse, the opposing team that replaced them competed at the national level. Since then, the Kurokage team has begun to change. From a distance, Yo-chan and a little boy named Rosso, one of Robert's 10 fighters, watching their fight. Ueki tried to get up and fight Kurokage again. Sadly, he was outnumbered because the shadows of Kurokage's body ganged up on him and ended with the stampede of the black giant's shadow. It turned out that Ueki could still release his strength and create a giant tree that penetrated and destroyed the giant black shadow's body. Kurokage reappears with his shadow clone to attack him. Luckily, the clouds covered the sunlight at that time, so all the clones disappeared, and Ueki could see the position of Kurokage's real body. However, Ueki said he didn't want to attack a man whose strength was disappearing. Seeing Ueki's kindness, Kurokage came to his senses and intended to have a fair fight one-on-one. Before they fight, Rosso comes and beats Kurokage. According to him, Kurokage has violated the rules of Robert's 10 fighters, which should be able to use any means to win. Hearing that, Ueki attacks Rosso, who can turn shadows into robots. On the other hand, the boy remembers Rosso's face. He says that Rosso was the one who took Kurokage away and changed his personality into what he is now. The boy grabbed Rosso's hand so that his attack stopped temporarily. Then, Ueki attacks Rosso, but he wakes up and makes a robot to protect him. Ueki, already consumed by anger, made the tree even bigger, so the robot was destroyed and hit Rosso's body until he was unconscious. As a result, Ueki won the match and made Kurokage come back to his senses. 1 week later, the boy sent a photo depicting that Kurokage had returned to the way they used to be and started playing basketball again. But Ueki's calm didn't last long because a boy named Myojin Taro appeared again, a member of Robert's 10 fighters. However, his presence was not to fight but to invite Ueki to become a member of Robert's 10 fighters. Because Ueki had defeated Kurokage, he had to replace his position. Hearing that, Ueki agreed and made Mori angry and left him. After that, he chases her and claims that it is just his tactic to find out the location of their base, so he can fight them all. Then, the scene switches to Ueki, who gets ready to go to Robert 10's headquarters. Mori reminds him to be nice and pretends to be their friend first. Arriving at the headquarters of Robert's 10 fighters, Ueki was underestimated by the other members because he only had 11 talents. Even one of them kicked him out. Seeing that, Myojin calmed his friends. Then a man named Ogre detects that there is an intruder. Soon, the male intruder named Kagura appeared before them, but the ogre easily defeated him. When they entered the house, Robert soon arrived, but Ueki refuses to bow like the other members. Seeing that, he wanted to punish Ueki by giving an acceptance test for him. Robert told Ueki to carry a large iron box for 3 days and 3 nights without eating and drinking and being monitored by members of Robert's 10 fighters. Surprisingly, he managed to pass the test and was officially accepted by Robert. In the underground world, Kobayashi is seen being a prisoner there. Then there was a man named Pagu who wanted to meet him. Pagu admits that he is Ueki's father and explains that Ueki is a resident of heaven, just like Kobayashi. He explained that Robert and his father were residents of heaven, including Margaret. Pagu said, 12 years ago, when 100 candidates were about to be selected, he and Margaret had a sneaky way to win. They send their son to the human world, who will be a fighter for both of them, because according to them, heavenly beings are stronger than ordinary humans. And when they both grow up, Pagu and Margaret will be candidates for their son. But in reality, only Margaret was chosen as a candidate, while he failed. Therefore, Pagu wanted to expose Margaret's cunning, but he was worried that he would be blamed because Margaret was very cunning. He hopes Ueki can defeat Robert so he can rule the world. Pagu's words were proven true because Ueki was only an adopted child found by his human family when he was still a baby. At Robert 10's headquarters, the members are having a meeting so that they can defeat the other fighters so that he is the only fighter left. Then Ueki asked why the strong Robert didn't do it himself. Nyojin explains that Robert shouldn't fight much because he will lose a year of his life every time he uses his strength. After that, Ueki went on a mission with Alessio, but he didn't join the fight and just watched. Soon after, he confessed to Alessio that he was only pretending to join Robert's 10 fighters. As a result, the two of them fought. But not long after, their fight was stopped because a huge monster suddenly appeared in front of them. When Alessio was about to attack him, Ueki blocked him. He couldn't bear it because the monster was like a big chicken to him that had to be protected. The monster catches Ueki and says he was sent by a prisoner of heaven. The monster can measure the abilities of other heavenly beings, and said that Ueki's heavenly ability was 0 because Ueki had been in the human world for too long. The monster says that he had been imprisoned in the underworld for tens of thousands of years because he had eaten the inhabitants of heaven. Right now, Kobayashi tricked him into going to the human world to eat Ueki, a very powerful celestial being, but it turned out Ueki was very weak. Because the monster had already come to the human world, it swallowed him anyway. Not long after, Ueki managed to make a tree and propped up the monster's mouth. He was not sure that Kobayashi had told the monster to eat him. It turned out that Kobayashi did that on purpose so that Ueki would know who he really was so that he could release his hidden power. After Ueki found out who he was, he managed to create a holy weapon to defeat Alessio. The monster detects that Ueki's strength has risen to 1 star. The monster tried to eat him again, but Ueki instead asked him about the holy weapon. The monster explained that sacred weapons are weapons of celestial beings that are created based on the creature's level. That is, the stronger the inhabitants of heaven, the stronger the sacred weapons they can create. Ueki managed to escape from the monster's grip. He instead asked the monster for help to train himself to defeat Robert's 10 fighters. The monster said that in the past, he was a pet of the inhabitants of heaven and could be used as a measure of their strength. But the monster can grow so big that it scares the people of heaven, while the other monsters' bodies remain small. One day, the monster wanted to help a child who had fallen, but the monster was mistaken for wanting to hurt the child. Finally, the monster was punished in the underworld with a slander that he had eaten millions of inhabitants of heaven. The monster felt very vengeful with the creatures of heaven. The monster attacked Ueki because it was burning with a vengeance. But Ueki was able to rise to a 2-star rank and succeeded in creating a sacred weapon called Hood. Seeing Ueki's sincerity and wanting to become stronger made the monster realize and finally want to help him. As a result, the monster was turned into a strength measuring bracelet named Tenko. At Robert's house, there is Margaret, who already knows that Ueki pretended to join forces to destroy them. They knew he had defeated Alessio, the weakest member of Robert's 10 fighters. With confidence, Robert said that even with Ueki's current ability, he would not be able to beat the remaining Robert's 10 fighters. Even so, Robert pretended to welcome Ueki's arrival as usual. Tenko detects that Robert's strength is currently at rank 10, which is quite rare for celestial beings. Robert makes Ueki angry by saying that Ueki is his loyal subordinate. After that, Robert confessed to all the members that he had defeated Alessio. Hearing that, the man named Don took Ueki to an empty place. It is known that Don has 320 talents, all of which are related to physical strength. He could make Ueki bounce, even when Ueki had taken out the hood as a shield. After that, Don left, thinking Ueki had lost. Meanwhile, Ueki himself was annoyed that Don could still defeat him even though his strength had increased. Afterward, he chased after Don, but Tenko suddenly swallowed his body. It turns out that in Tenko's body, there is a power room often used by his race to raise the level of their prey. So, before Tenko became a pet, they really liked to eat powerful heavenly creatures in wartime. If the prey is not strong enough, he will lock it in the generator room, so the prey trains to be strong. He wanted Ueki to practice in that room too. Ueki was given a special test to reach rank 3. Finally, within 22 hours, Ueki managed to master rank 3 and was able to create a holy weapon called Ranma. After succeeding, Tenko told Ueki to come out, but he wanted to stay inside Tenko's stomach to reach rank 4 strength. After a while, Ueki managed to reach rank 4 and challenged Don again. The two met at the place yesterday, where Don demonstrated the ability to turn rings into rockets. Confidently, he said he would only use 50% of his strength against Ueki. But Ueki, who had grown stronger, could dodge Don's attack. Don was so angry that he used his full strength to get his body into the rocket. Ueki took out his rank 4 weapons named Mash and managed to destroy his rocket. Without them knowing, it turns out that the fight has been witnessed by Baki. He reported to members of Robert 10 that Don had been defeated by Ueki. Hearing this, a chef named Marco became very angry and looked for Ueki. After Marco left, Rinko reported to Robert the situation. But Robert doesn't care about Don and Alessio because, for him, someone who has lost their strength is no longer part of Robert's 10 fighters. Robert said that Rinko is the most trusted person on the team. Hearing that, Rinko felt happy because she liked him. On the other hand, Marco was already in front of Ueki. Unexpectedly, Rinko appeared from behind Ueki and attacked him with her power that could turn beads into bombs. Because Ueki was attacked from both directions at once, he almost fell into the cliff. Marco attacks him using lava, but Don and Alessio are suddenly there. Ueki asked Marco and Rinko to stop their attack because it could hurt them. However, Marco ignored them again and continued to attack. Luckily, Ueki can change Marco's lava flow direction using a tree, while Rinko is still confused between saving Don and Alessio or obeying Robert to ignore them. When Ueki's shield shattered, he ran to Alessio and Don to take him away from there. Marco continues to attack them mercilessly, while Rinko stops his attacks and helps Ueki to save their friends. Seeing this, Ueki carried them all at once to move aside. Marco threatens to tell Robert about Rinko's actions and asks her to attack him. The sly Marco was about to attack Ueki from behind. Fortunately, Ueki knew about it and attacked him using Mash until he was finally defeated. Ueki said that he had considered Rinko as his friend. Hearing this, she was flattered because she had never had friends and chose to be on his side. Besides that, she really likes animals and plays with Tenko. Shortly afterward, Ueki fell because he was tired after facing 4 members of Robert's 10 fighters. His body had many injuries. Afterward, Tenko took out a healing animal from within him, and in 12 hours, he would recover. After that, Rinko pretended to return to the base to lie to Robert about what had happened. This is the end of the second part of this anime. For the next part, you can watch it in the next video.